So dear learners, in 5.3 DifferAnce, you have studied about the Derridian concept of difference. It is indeed very difficult to understand this concept which does not have audible difference, and thus it becomes very difficult to understand. I would request Dr. Sachin Katkar to elaborate more on this concept of difference.
Yeah, thank you, Dilip. It's a real tough question, but I would like to simplify it by drawing your attention to a very common activity that most of us are familiar with. That is referring to a dictionary. Okay. Right. So, for example, you open a dictionary to consult a word. Let's say, for example, that word is word interest, a very common word. And you open the dictionary and you look at the dictionary and you see that the word interest is written, and just along with it is given its meaning. Now, if you look at what is meaning, so I open this and I want to know the meaning of the word interest. Then what does the dictionary say? Dictionary says interest is a noun, which means wanting to know more. Attraction, that's the another meaning of. Third meaning that it gives is hobby. Fourth meaning that it gives is money. The fifth meaning that it gives is advantage. Then it also says share in business is also interest. Then it says connection is also interest. Then interest also means group of people. Right? So what I came to know is that word interest has this meaning and I understand it. Right? So what Derrida is questioning here is, what do you mean by understand? And he draws attention to the fact that what we look in dictionary and what we find is not its meaning but a group of another words. For example, word interest means hobby or group of people or share in business. So these are words like the word interest. So the meaning of one word is set of another words. Right? And we feel that we have understood. But the question is, if meaning of word like interest is a group of another words, then what is the meaning of those words? Right? For example, share in finance or economic or in money. And what do you mean by finance? Then I go to another page looking for the meaning of the word finance. Then finance would be explained as something else. But this explanation is nothing but a group of words. So what happens is that there is no final meaning to any word. We find that one word leads to another word, and that word leads to another word, and that leads to another word, and finally we never come out of the dictionary. If we stop, it's because of an illusion that we have understood. Right? So Saussurean idea that meaning is something that is in the mind is what he challenges here. He seems to imply that the meaning of one signifier is not one signified but another signifier, which leads to another signifier, and till infinite, right? It never stops. So this is the chain of significations of signifiers. This is the chain of signifiers which never stops. Now this is not how we look at meaning and dictionary. Right? But Derrida is drawing attention to the fact that we take for granted, we assume that we have understood things. While what we have actually done is we have stopped asking the question, what is the meaning of this word? For example, if interest implies share in money, then what do you mean by word share? What do you mean by word money, for example? Then I go to a dictionary and look for word money. That would lead me to something else. Right? So, meaning is always postponed, the ultimate meaning. It's never there. It's always promised and postponed. So, there is one tendency in language to defer continuously the meaning. But we remain under impression that we have found the meaning, while it is just postponed. Right? So, ultimate and final meaning is a myth, according to Derrida. And you can never ever reach the ultimate or final meaning. Right? So that is one word, one sense of deferring which Derrida is implying. The other sense is the sense of the word difference as differentiating. How do we know something is black? It's only again when we contrast it with something which is not black that we know that this is black. Right? So Saussure has said that there are no positive items in language. Right? There are only negative ones. So there are only differences according to Saussure. So Derrida combines two terms, differ and defer, because in French one word is used to imply both, and that is to differer. Right? And so it's a pun. It means to differ, it also means to differentiate. So postpone and differentiate, only one word is used to signify both, postpone and differentiate or distinguish. Right? So it is a pun actually in French. So word difference is a pun in French. And another very interesting thing is that you can never pronounce it differently. You can only spell it differently. Right? With difference with A and difference with E. So what Derrida is drawing attention is the difference between speech and writing. And he is questioning this privileging of speaking, even in coining a new word. So this new term is very cleverly designed. It almost encompasses everything that he wants to say, to combine difference and speech and writing. Right? That's why what happens that we can never hear difference. We can only read difference. Right? And that is one reason why he uses word difference with A there. And if you type it in your Word, MS Word, then it will show a red line because difference is spelled with E. So that is one reason why students have difficulties in understanding difference. Now what is this difference with A? Now as we are speaking, let us use a French pronunciation to signify difference with A. So DifferAnce. Right. So what does difference imply? Then Derrida says difference implies a force. Difference is not a idea or a concept, but a force which makes differentiation possible, which makes postponing possible. And because there is differentiation is made possible by difference, we can have any sort of communication, right? So meaning, even the communication that we are having right now is made possible by difference, because we are distinguishing between words when we listen, when you listen to what I say and when I speak. So we are, in our mind, there is differentiation going on. But at the same time, what is the meaning of that we are communicating? We think that we have understood, but what actually happens that is only postponed. The ultimate final meaning of what we are discussing right now can never be grasped. But throughout the Western philosophy, there is a tendency to assume that the final meaning can be grasped. Right? And that final meaning is what he calls transcendental signified. Transcendental, that which is outside or beyond language, which can be grasped. Now, the whole assumption of transcendental signified is what Derrida says is the symptom of metaphysics of presence. So what difference does is that it undoes metaphysics of presence. But at the same time, it's not a negative term, because the contrast between negative and positive is also a binary. Right? It is both negative and positive, yet at the same time difference is neither positive nor negative. Right? So it's a strange word. It's a non-word almost. Word which is non-word. Right? So it's a very difficult idea to grasp. However, that actually, if you follow that line, you can be able to deal with very complex text in Derrida if you get what Derrida is hinting at. So that's very important term to understand. Yeah, so what was the other question that you were asking?
You can elaborate more with some examples this, and is there any link with this idea of phonocentrism and logocentrism that comes within this way?
Yeah, as I said earlier, phonocentrism is the tendency in the Western thought to privilege speech over writing. And that happens because speech is considered as presence. I am speaking and you are listening and we are in front of each other. We are present. I am present to you. But when you write, the reader and the writer are not present to each other. When students write answers, the examiner is not present. And when the examiner reads it, the student is not present. So writing is almost a practice of absence, while speaking is practice of presence. So in Western philosophy, there is a bias towards speaking.
Okay.
That what is language? Language is speaking. Now this bias is known as phonocentrism, and that is a manifestation, a symptom of logocentric thinking. And what difference does is that it causes this. It is a condition which causes the difference between speaking and writing, presence and absence.
Okay.
Right? We are able to distinguish between presence and absence because of difference.
Okay.
But at the same time, there is no ultimate meaning to it.
Okay.
So what happens is that the other term can also be considered as primary. For example, what he does in his first book called Of Grammatology is considers writing as primary and speaking as secondary.
Okay.
So he sees speaking as something that comes, that is derivative, and writing is what language really is.
Okay.
Right? So he shows that writing can be considered primary.
Okay.
Right? So he's questioning this logocentrism using the idea of difference.
DifferAnce. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.